Hailing from the backwoods of New Jersey, welcome to the Jersey Guys Music Podcast, where we feature in-depth music discussions and interviews with special guests from the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and AOR music. So settle in and crank it up. Now, here are your hosts, the Jersey Guys themselves, Tom and Mark.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jersey Guys podcast. I'm Mark Ballo here with my co-host Tom Coyne. Joining us today, we've got a guy, I think our European and melodic rock fans are going to know him, Kenny Holliday, but also will know him as Kenny Kaos. This guy's done a career that's had a lot of bands, a lot of albums, countless live stages. We're going to dig into his journey tonight, so please welcome to the show, Kenny.
Thanks so much. Hello, everybody, all across the world, actually, not just here in the U.S. or Canada.
That's right. That's right. We appreciate you coming on. We're gonna take a walk down memory lane tonight, if that's
Great.
cool.
Absolutely.
What I thought I would start with is when we talked about this a minute ago before we started. Let's go all the way back to 1990. Let's talk about the Paul Laine album, "Stick It in Your Ear." You were involved in that with playing guitars on that album. How did that all come about?
Yeah, at the time I was working with band Giant, Canadian Giant, not to be confused with LA. Mm-hmm. And we were playing the clubs in Vancouver. Paul Laine and I think Bruce Fairburn or one of the guys from the studio, from Little Mountain Studios with them. We were playing at a club and they came in, they were looking for a guitar player at the time. And I guess Paul wanted to see me play in that. And they asked if I was willing to leave the band Giant at the time and go join with them. And they were looking, I think, for more songs. And I ended up writing songs with them. And we spent a year working on that record. The big thing about that whole deal was, for me, at the time, I mean, Bruce Fairburn, you know, God bless the guy. He was coming off this huge stint of hit after hit after hit. You know, the Bon Jovi and the Aerosmith, and it went on and on and on. And through him, I got to, you know, meet all these people and see how it was done in Little Mountain Studio, which I think there's even a movie out about it now. So that record, we were in Little Mountain for 3 months, 4 months, maybe, working on that. It was incredible. Met so many people through that. And I ended up writing songs with other bands like Little Caesar. Remember them?
I had no idea you wrote songs. I liked them a lot.
Yeah, they were great. They used to come over, hang out at the house a bit. And I lived like 2 blocks from Little Mountain Studio.
Wow. So I mean, Paul Laine's a guy, you know, we talked about this a minute ago. He's a guy that's become like just this cult hero kind of guy from that album, basically all over Europe, the melodic rock scene. He's been over there. He's, you know, he's done so much since then. But yeah, I mean, that album.
Yeah, Paul had that great big voice, and we thought that record was going to be a bigger success than it was. But it was a great record, and the experience working with Bruce Fairburn was incredible. I learned 10 years inside of 4 months.
Wow.
I swear.
That album should have been really huge. The problem with it was that the distribution in the States was awful.
Horrible. I ran into, ironically, the guy, his name is Jack Holzman. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He is Mr. Electra Records. He was on the cruise ship that I work on for 10 days. We talked about everything. And we talked about that and everything. He said the times were changing. You know, it was bad timing. It was 1990, going into 91. Nirvana was huge. Right. Soundgarden was on. Melodic rock in the USA was dying in the moment that record hit. It was like game over. Yeah. So it was really bad timing. And I remember having a heart-to-heart with Jack Holzman on Mackinac Island in Michigan. Yeah, we were having cappuccinos. His wife used to say, "Oh, come on, I've heard every story about Mick Jagger and this one and that one that Jack has ever told." So Jack would start his stories with, "Well, my memory of how it happened is," and then he'd tell you, whether it was talking about Jim Morrison or Freddie Mercury. I mean, the guy has done it all. And he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now. Jack's like 86 years old.
Wow.
So, so everything in the business, I believe, leads to another door, to another door.
Oh, for sure.
So playing with Donnie Wolf and Giant, which we ended up selling that name to Dan Hoff, who had Giant in the USA. I left that Giant to go join Paul Laine, left that to do Darby Mills, which was Warner Brothers. In the middle there somewhere, ended up with writing with Loverboy with Mike Reno, and ended up working with Paul Dean, Loverboy's songwriting guitar hero.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. Ended up working with Paul on about 6 or 10 records for Escape Records.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a lot of work together. Paul would always come in at the end and do all the mixing, and he had an SSL, and he got some great sounds, and I loved it. We did The Distance, Chris Uzi, and I.
Great singer.
Great singer, yeah.
Well, you became kind of like the right-hand man of Escape Records in that late 90s, mid-90s to the early 2000 period. You like you said, you did so much for them. Yeah, we did.
I think 9, 12, 15, somewhere in there amount of records. It was a huge amount of records.
That's all?
Every few months, it was something new. I was back in Manchester, England, working away.
Could you tell us a little bit about the White Vision album?
White Vision, that was, what was that record company? Long Island.
Long Island Records, yeah.
Wrong
Island?
You guys say it way better than me. I still have tinges of my Canadian accent, or so they tell me out on the ships. White Vision, how that happened was I had some demos that were mastered, finished. A couple of songs, I think, with Brian McLeod, Headpins, and 2 or 3 with Chilliwack, Bill Henderson. Right. From the group Chilliwack from Canada, another great musician, and we had co-written or worked on the songs. I was always a co-writer with everybody. I believed in that, and still to this day. I mean, I've had some success with solo songs and things, but I always liked the co-writing. The synchronicity of 3 guys in a room. Here we are having a conversation.
Yeah.
If just one of us does all the talking, there's not a full story.
Yeah.
So I look at songwriting like that too. And White Vision was a bit of this piece of that song, this piece, that piece. And Halil Turk. He's Tom's buddy. Yeah. Who I just talked to the other day. Wonderful, wonderful guy. Love the guy. He is Mr. Escape Records. Yes. But before he was Escape Records, you're going back 1990.
He was in Long Island, yeah.
Long Island Records from Germany. Mm-hmm. So they were the guys. They got a hold of me somehow through one of those connections. The Bruce Fairburn to this one, to that one, from the Paul Laine record, or somebody heard of somebody, got a hold of me, and we did a deal, put that record out.
It's a brilliant record. There's some great songs. So? Oh yeah, love it. Love the songs on that album.
That's great.
I just wish they would have spent more than 25 cents on the cover.
Oh, the cover was the worst cover I've ever seen.
I remember I ordered this because people were already raving about it, and when you looked at it, you was like, "This is the most benign-looking thing I've ever seen in my life."
That's legit.
But the music was fabulous. The songs are so good on it. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. So fast forward to 2025, some of those songs that never got released in the USA are now probably going to be released, along with the story of my first band, Simon Chaos.
Right, which we're going to get to.
That's where 2 or 3 of the songs came from.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I know for sure The Wind and I is one of those songs, and A Dirty Dreams or Fantasy or whatever it was called. There was 2 or 3, 4 or 5.
Wow.
And they'll be on a new record with a song that I had written with Mike Reno and Paul Laine for the Loverboy Greatest Hits, whatever it was, is going to be on the new record.
Okay, we're going to talk about that, Simon Kaos. Yeah,
yeah, we'll get to that in a few minutes. Yeah.
Now, Khalil at some point hooked you up with a very renowned British singer from the band Heartland called Chris Uzi.
Yeah.
What was your experience with working with him?
Yeah, a wonderful guy on top of being such an incredible singer. And Chris used to come to my house in Vancouver. I had a ranch type house, and Scott, the bass player from Loverboy, and I had a studio agreement, and we owned this studio, triple car garage studio. And Halil would send artists over, and I would record them there. And Chris ended up being the main guy that I ended up working with. You know, did it just get too dark in here? Hang on.
Yeah, the lights went down.
Where's my computer, the device? Oh, there it is. That's good. So I ended up working with Chris. Gosh, we must have done, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 records. We did The Distance. I was involved on 1 or 2 of the Heartland.
Yes, that was another one we were going to talk to you about.
One of my personal favorites. I love the Miracles by Design album.
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Oh, thanks.
Probably my favorite Heartland, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow. That's great. Well, and Chris, I mean, he was already had a huge deal with, might have been A&M.
Yes.
And it was, Led Zeppelin, what's his name? Bonham. Jason Bonham was the drummer on that.
Oh, Virginia Woolf.
Virginia Woolf. That's the name. Yeah. So that's where I knew of Chris from, because I heard the record and it was fab. The production.
Yeah, Chris was a young guy, a really young guy, and he had that voice already at that age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Killer voice already.
Yeah.
They toured with on the first Heartland album. I think they toured with Mr. Big in Europe, and I always thought like Eric Martin and Chris Uzi had a very similar sounding voice.
Like this.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I never thought of that. He does sound like
hit song type of voice. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. But Virginia Woolf, much like this record or that record, it just for whatever reason, Yeah. We get our blessings when we do, and the ones we don't get, we move on.
It's funny how that Virginia Woolf. I think in the UK in that early '80s period, the melodic thing because it was just coming on the heels of the new wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah,
and those early melodic bands like early Shy and Virginia Woolf.
Right.
They really didn't. They didn't really catch on the way they should have.
It didn't connect, and then go.
Yeah.
It just was there, but it didn't connect. It was close. Right.
Yeah,
it was close, and it wasn't because it wasn't good.
Yeah,
no, it was great.
And if I had, silver dollar for every time somebody asked me, and I heard this song, I didn't know you wrote this or this or whatever, or you were involved with. Wow, that should have been a hit. Let's go have a cappuccino.
Yeah. Right, the other band too with Jason Bonham and Keith Morrell.
Oh, wow. I just said Air Race. Right?
Air Race.
Air Race.
Another very early British. They had another band that didn't catch on, and they were phenomenal.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah. A lot of super talent out there that just never got heard.
Yeah.
Everybody can't be at the top.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So once we did the records with Chris Uzi and I and all that, then Halil, he wanted me to be involved quite a bit. Yeah, he was I think he was very kind and gracious to me, involving me as much as he did. I didn't think I was that great as a producer. I was like, I'm okay, I can get the job done, but he liked the sound, he liked the way I played, and he liked the songwriting and everything that I brought to the table. So I ended up being the Canadian boy in England.
Yeah.
And that was 5 or 6 years of my life, that worked out. Yeah. Wow. And
Khalil shared the same infatuation, and Mark could attest to this by how many Canadian artists I've booked on this show. We were both really big into the Canadian, hard rock and melodic scene.
Yeah.
So I guess that's, he kind of like cinched on you and, you know.
He did, and I guess he knew I was kind of in the thick of it, writing songs with
Right, right.
Loverboy, and being involved with Darby Mills and the Headpins and all that type of stuff. Yeah, I was in the thick of it. I grew up with it. It was part of my sound, and everybody's got a vibe.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
If you come from Sheffield, you're going to sound a little bit like
Right.
Phil Collin or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Another guy who ended up working with.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, and we in the same studio out in Vancouver.
oh wow.
Because Loverboy was doing a single for something. Anyway, Phil ended up producing it, and I got to know him a bit. Wonderful guy, super hard-working guy. Wow, we worked 14 hours a day, and it was like to get this job done and all that. But wonderful guy. Learned more from him as well. Yeah. So, and that was through the connections of everything.
Yeah.
It all. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
But
Now, at some point, Khalil hooked you up with an old mate of yours, which was Darcy Doyce, to do the Pokerface album.
yes,
Which is another brilliant album. If you could talk to
Oh,
us a
I
little
forgot
bit.
about that. You
Yeah.
like that?
Oh, how could you forget about Pokerface? Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, I enjoyed that record. I thought there was some good stuff on it.
Yes, very good.
Oh, good. Thanks. Yeah, we ended up Pokerface. There's a funny thing, going back to names, and I was talking about Giant and this one and that one. So we came up with Pokerface, and then there was another band 3 months later, came out with a Pokerface. I think they were from Germany or somewhere. And even though I think we were first, they wanted to sue us it's called the cease and desist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the name and all that. And it kind of put a big crimp in the record and everything. And I think the distributors in Japan and people like that, heard about controversy going on, and everybody just kind of didn't do a second run.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because a couple of songs were getting played on radio, I did some interviews with the people in Europe, and it was getting some action. Yeah, but
No, it's a terrific record. Yeah.
Oh,
For
thanks.
that time, yeah. I mean, it was really good. So you and Darcy go back to a band called Simon Kaos.
Yes.
If you could elaborate on that, because that's like a name, and I was telling Mark, it's always been out there, the Simon Kaos demos, and why haven't they been put out? And
Yeah, geez, yeah, Mark, you never got to experience the live chaos.
No.
Yeah, so the band was, I would say, and I'm saying this not because I thought it was the most talented band out there, or the best singers, songwriters, guitar players, all that stuff, but it was definitely the funnest band. Like if you went and saw Simon Kaos play live, that band was so much fun. 5 young blondish-haired guys who could throw a party on stage every night. And we took the music real serious, but the party took over. So every time we play, it got bigger and bigger, and then people wanted to hear our songs. So we started writing songs. I had written some songs at that point in life. We were kids, we were children, but the party went on for year after year. And we did end up getting in the studios and working with Brian McLeod, and Mike Reno had a song on the Simon Kaos unreleased record. I think, when was that? So late 80s, I guess the record was finished and all that. We ended up doing that, but we became the most popular band from Winnipeg to Vancouver.
Wow.
Just every nightclub was dying to have Simon Kaos, and because it sold out all the time. So it was fun. And we were actually good as a band. When I look back at old video footage and stuff like that, oh my God, we were on fire, because we were so in a hurry to rock and roll and go play. We could never settle down, settle into the groove. And I remember working with a few more experienced musicians. They used to tell me that. They said, you guys got to settle down into a groove. So we did in the studio. So we took all that party energy and put it in. Because if you think back about bands like Van Halen and stuff like that, that's what they were. They were this extreme party band.
Mm.
They took it on stage. They took that into the studio. They had the magic of Eddie and Dave, and the other guys were no slouch, but that was the essence of it. So we used to kind of, I think, my version of the story is we used to fashion ourselves after that atmosphere.
Okay.
So we wanted that atmosphere wherever we were playing, and we acquired it. We got it. We achieved it. So it became the number one paid band in Western Canada for about 5 years.
Wow. Now, was there consideration with labels signing with a major?
Oh yeah. In fact, the guy who signed Glass Tiger.
Oh, okay.
I want to say it was Virgin Records Canada. He came out, and I met with him in a hotel. There was a question mark attached to maybe we'll get together again and talk. And then there was another fella came out from another record label, A&M, because they ended up signing the band I was with after Simon Kaos, which was Giant.
Oh.
And it was the same guy who signed the deal because I think he liked my songwriting.
Yeah.
You know, he liked something about it. Anyway, we were so close, so close, so close, so close. It went back and forth all the time, but it never became the deal is done. Put him out with whoever was touring. Put him out there with those, and let's see if it works. And there was other bands that bypassed it. So I think Darcy Deutsch, the singer, I think it was year number 7, and the party was over. And it was sad that it had to be over because it maybe should have been, one of those bands that had notoriety at the recording level.
Yeah.
So what's because we've heard this story a lot of times with bands that manage to get signed and bands on the periphery that don't get signed. What's the determining a factor usually, or at least in your case, when you turned out to be one of those bands that didn't get signed that should have? What is the determining factor that made that happen?
The same thing that happens with every part of our lives, personal relationships.
Okay.
Does that kind of sum it up?
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't have a relationship with a record guy, like the guy from Virgin. He was just a guy who came out to see us. So the guy from A&M, I couldn't tell you his name.
Okay.
Maybe Jeff. I want to say Jeff something.
Right.
He signed a band called a 3-piece band. They sounded a bit like the Doors. I can't.
The Front? There was a
Uh,
band called The Front that was signed on A&M that would sound like the Doors.
oh, is that? It might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that guy, whoever that A&R guy was. But I always look at it like that. And I mean, now that I'm a mature guy and I can look back at the career and everything and go, oh, wow, that should have happened. This, thank God, never happened. This should, it's like,
Right.
you look at life much differently.
Yeah.
Because in retrospect, I think we didn't have a relationship with Jim Valance or Brian Adams or this one or that one. I ended up with a friendship with Mike Reno and Paul Dean and the people in Loverboy and all that. But that was after Simon Kaos was kind of finished.
Okay.
Okay, it was when I began Giant and then went to Paul Laine and then went to all the Escape Records artists and all that. So my relationship with them, and could they have gotten us a deal? Possibly. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
The stars, the moon, Uranus didn't line up.
Right.
But I truly believe it's always about personal relationships.
Yeah. Plus I think a lot of times with that type of music, and Tom and I are big fans, a lot of our listeners love that melodic rock stuff, the 80s stuff. But I think there was a timing thing with that, because by 1990-ish, and you talked about it with the Paul Laine record, I mean, the scene and the music in the US, North America changed.
Yeah, it was over in months.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal how fast it had changed.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's basically what Jack Holzman, he was the CEO of Elektra Records, which was the record label that signed the Paul Laine record with Bruce Fairbairn producing and Bruce Allen managing. it all changed. It didn't matter. It was Bruce Fairbairn producing, and the record sounded great.
Yeah.
Sounded killer. It was like, wow. I listened back. We had Mickey Curry from Bryan Adams playing drums. I remember playing beside him in the studio. Go, fuck, this guy plays like 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the groove. I'd never heard that before. He came from Hall and Oates.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say, in spite of that late 80s thing not working out, in retrospect, you had a substantially more productive career in the 90s than most artists did for melodic rock?
Yeah, very ironic. I mean, I'm a very fortunate soul that way, I think. For whatever reason, things seem to work out for me. Like, I've been in the music business now for 100 years. I'm still in. I'm on a break in Florida right now for 2 weeks off, you know, and then I go back to playing the cruise ships. I'm playing 250 shows a year.
Wow.
Still, you know, and that's been going on for the last 10 years. It's incredible. So what happened in 1990, just to, you know, kind of elaborate on that story of a fortunate soul in the music business, is it all stopped in 1990, say January, February, and by March. And then I get the phone call from Halil Turk, Escape Records. Hey, I love this melodic rock stuff you're doing and all that. And I said, yeah, it's starting to become quickly a thing of the past in America. Not in Europe, is what he said.
Right.
He said, Europeans still know great melodic music and they love melody. And come on, man. He might have said something as ironic as, think back to Beethoven and people like this, where all this melody comes from. It's here, man. It's not over there, right?
Yeah.
And the guy sold me. And then he actually came to Vancouver. And we met downtown at the Four Seasons Hotel. I remember it. And he's a little guy like me. He's 5'7", you know, and it's like I met the guy face to face, and he was such a wonderful guy. You know, I just went, wow, personal relationship.
Right.
Yeah, loved the guy. I think he loved me back. And it was like, I'm going to play you this song, and I've got this. And I had Pokerface record. I was just doing demos at the time with Darcy Deutsch, you know, the Simon Chaos singer. And I played him that in my car. I had just got a Jeep or something. I had a great sound system, and I played it for him, cranked it way up. And I'd say, okay, well, that's enough. No, I want to hear more. And we sat there for an hour. I went and got another cappuccino from the coffee shop, brought it back, and we both sat there drinking coffees, listening to a record that ended up being signed to a deal.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like I didn't make some money on all these deals, because they did, and then they'd sign it to Japan.
They all got Japanese distribution, yes.
Yeah. So we did that, and I did that with Don Wolf. We put a record together as well for a little Project
X, yep.
Yeah. So, but before Project X, Johnny Wolf, that was the end of Simon Chaos. We formed the band Giant. I was walking through Edmonton, Canada. I was walking through the shopping center, and I remember looking at a poster. Remember that poster? And it was James Dean leaning back, and he has a cowboy hat.
Of course, yeah.
Giant.
Yep.
Where the name came from.
Yeah, it's a very famous movie.
Interesting.
Huge.
Yeah.
So I looked, and I said, we're all little guys. We're all like, and I had Vic Langan from Kick Axe on bass with that great big bass. So he looked
that gigantic.
Yeah, that big axe bass. You know? So we had Vic on bass. Donnie, he's not a big guy either. He's husky.
Yeah.
But him and I up front, Craig Brooks back on drums, and keyboard player at that point was a guy named Jimmy. He wasn't a big guy either. So I said, it's a perfect name for us guys. Come on, Giant. Back and forth. I fought for it. Okay, we printed up jackets. The band's called Giant. Next thing, we got a poster. You know, fast forward 6 months later, we'd written all these songs and everything. And the A&M guy was going to sign it. And then I got the call from the Bruce Fairbairn camp, you know, the Paul Laine, Bruce Fairbairn, Bruce Allen camp, to leave Giant and go join this thing with Bruce Fairburn producing. So
Yeah.
excuse me, my focus went, wow, are you kidding?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe this will work. You know, you cross all your fingers and toes and you make the leap. So I left the band, Giant. I was only with them it was a year. We did all this work and they got the deal, put the record out and everything, but they had to change the name because Dan Huff,
Right.
Giant in LA,
Sure.
called up, his management called up and said, hey man, we know you got the rights in Canada, you beat us to it, but we'd like to buy the rights out. And they did. They sent a check up for $29,000 US. Because I reminded Dan of that. A few years back, I sent him an email just on one of the social things. Said, "Hey Dan, do you remember selling the name to a Canadian boy?" He goes, "Oh, blah, 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 blah. You got to be kidding! That's you." I said, "Yeah." Said, "What'd you spend the money on?" I said, "Honestly, I never got a dime. It all went into the recording project, and I was leaving the band, so I." And he laughed. He goes, "You still in the music business?" I said, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Good man." He says, "You won."
Yeah. There you go.
You won. He said, "That is success. You're still in the business."
Yeah.
And,
That's cool.
It was very cool. It was nice to hear from such a big, successful guy as Dan Huff. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was
big Nashville guy now, right?
Yeah. So it was just a message between us, and he's a big star. So anyway, I left Giant and I left that, and it goes on and on and on. But you know what you said, Tom, is true. I had a bigger career. I don't know why this light keeps going out. I had a bigger career in the 90s as far as records.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, in that dark period, it wasn't so dark if you were able to be with like a Khalil and constantly doing records and getting Japanese distribution.
Yeah, and the Japanese paid us properly for it.
Right.
Yeah, I made a proper living.
Right.
You know, as the English would say, it was a proper living
Right.
for about 7-8 years off that. It was the 90s for me.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate and very thankful to Halil, and just talked with him like 2 days ago or something. After you mentioned, I messaged him back because he had messaged me. I'd had a health issue with my eyes, and he was asking how I was doing. I said, "I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great, thanks." And then our conversation went on about everybody. We talked about everybody.
Yeah.
It was great. Wonderful, wonderful guy.
Nice.
I believe Chris Uzi's out of the music business now.
Yeah, Chris. We talked about Chris too. I said, "Well, geez, where's my old buddy Chris? What's he doing?" Chris is now, he's like a Mutt Lang. He's a gardener.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I don't know whether Khalil told me that or somebody. I think it was actually Khalil told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, that's what Mutt Lang does too.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I heard about that from Phil Collin. Had told me the story about Mutt, the real story. I always love it because I've always been at that level where I meet a lot of people that have had huge songs, whether it's Hit Me With Your Best Shot or this one or that one. And get to spend a bit of time with them and seeing the magic behind it. And it's always a matter of like, why does this one get signed and that one doesn't? Why is this song a huge hit and that one? It's personal relationships. And then after that, it's up to the universe. If the radio takes it and it becomes a huge hit there and then there and there, it sticks around. Next thing you know, it's living on a prayer for 40 years.
Yeah.
So,
and where does the Simon Kaos stuff stand? You said that's in Darcy Deutsch's kind of camp right now. It's something that he's going to put out?
Yeah. So Darcy, when he left Simon Kaos, when we broke up and I went off to the Giant thing, he went to prison because Ron Tabak, the singer for, the famous band Prism, had just died. And they needed a singer, and Darcy could nail it. He can do those high A's perfectly and back and forth. So he left that, and now they asked him about writing a book about that Prism thing. And then they said, well, what about Simon Kaos, the band leading up to it? So he's actually, I think he's almost finished writing the book. And the CD, some of the songs from White Vision be on this CD. If it gets done in, I imagine September or something like that, the Simon Chaos story. I think he's calling it The Theory of Chaos.
Okay.
Was the last title I heard, and it'll be the story behind some of that, and it's quite interesting because, like I said earlier, we were a very famous unfamous band.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I when I look back at it, gosh, man, there was never a night there wasn't 200 people hanging around.
Wow.
You know, so if you're a big star, recording star, you know, you've got backstage. So you got 200 people hanging around.
Yeah.
And you're back at the hotel and there's like 25 or 50. It was the same for us.
Right.
Just we didn't just play in front of 10,000. We played in front of those 200, but we ended up being friends.
Yeah.
So everybody would hang out. And I think it was that way. And they were all of the guys in the band were all nice guys. You know, there wasn't a bad guy in the bunch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I know some melodic rock fans will definitely be looking forward to that, especially the ones in Europe, right?
Yeah, because that's always been like kind of like this mystery band. Like, why did it never come out? Because even I remember back in the late 80s hearing about that band.
Yeah, so on that record, I think there's a song that I wrote with Reno. There's one Reno wrote with McLeod. You know, so you got the Loverboy headpins influence in there. You've got there's some of the stuff I was going to do with Giant was in there. The stuff that Darcy and I did together for the Pokerface record. Some of the stuff leading up to that, there was like actually 15 songs for Pokerface. I think we ended up with 10. Wow. There was songs, you know, that we had done as a group of souls together that had a sound and a vibe that was made it the party so famous. We'd play those songs. Girl with a Gun was one of the songs, and people loved it. And it was on the radio. Like some of the songs were on the radio, but there was no record to buy.
Right.
Wow.
That was
People would come up. Where do we get this? There's no record to buy.
Yeah, that's the worst thing when you're hot and you don't have a deal.
Yeah, you know, Tom.
Yes,
you know.
Sure.
Yes.
You know, been 1,000 bands like that in New Jersey.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Now, talking about personal relationships, we had Tim Feehan on the show.
Oh wow!
Recently, and a terrific guy. He told some great stories, and he was really plugged into telling us a lot of things about how he got where he got because he had certain relationships with guys that he just kind of stumbled upon, right?
For sure.
Through the NHL and hockey and different things.
Total sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, life is relationships. It is.
Yes.
You know, the people I work with on the ships now and all that, I have a big Christmas party every year down here in Florida. You know, it's the end of the season. The captain comes down, the cruise directors come down, some of the other musicians come down. We all end up at this big party, and then we throw this party, the Kenny Holiday Christmas party, and it's all personal relationships and all the friends from Florida, but it's relationships.
Yeah.
Always going to be that way.
For sure.
Always.
Let's talk about that for a second, because you mentioned it. The last 10 years of your life, you've been doing basically living on the high seas, right? How did you get involved with all that?
Jeez, yeah. So I had finished with the Escape Records thing. It just, for me, for whatever reason, it fizzles. We all end up going our own way.
Sure.
They carried on and had some great successes. I wanted to get back into live playing, you know, because while I was doing that, I was in the studio full time. The only time I got to play was in the studio, and I wanted to get back in being in front of people and doing the experience, you know, that thing that happens live.
Sure.
You know, I mean, there's players out there, the Who and the Stones and all these people, they can't let it go.
Right. Yeah.
I totally get that. I may be one of those poor, unfortunate souls at 85 years old. You know, up there still playing.
Yeah.
Roached over. So I wanted to get back into playing live and all that stuff. And then I had moved to Florida and got a call from an agent in Las Vegas because I had started playing live and I was back in the thick of it. And I've always been a good live performer because I know how to entertain. And that's always been apparent because I've always got paid to do it. So I just say so now. It's like, yeah, sure, I'm good at that. So I got a call from an agent that I had met in Vegas, and she was actually from Florida. Called me up. There's a cruise ship in the Mississippi. They need somebody. Oh, okay. I guess I could give it a try. Yeah, can you be there tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock? Are you kidding? So I ended up flying out to the Mississippi at 8 o'clock, and I'm totally unprepared for it. I was told, just do your thing. Well, yeah, sure. Well, let me tell you how it is on ships. Day 1, you play for the crowd. Day 2, you play for the same crowd. Day 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 days in a row, you're playing for the same crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
The crowd doesn't change, the band changes.
Ah,
So you go from being a top 40 band to being a top 400.
right. Right.
Oh, yeah. So, you got to have theme nights and all this stuff. So I've actually, the last 10 years, I've learned so much about music that I knew nothing about. I really didn't know much about country music. We do a country music night now,
Wow.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting, all the guitar pickers, and singing country songs and all that. And then we do a British invasion. Well, I had never really played the Beatles and the Stones, and in my journey. We do a Stonesy Beatles night and all that stuff. And through that, I end up meeting Paul McCartney up in Quebec one time,
Oh, yeah.
So I've always met people and all this because of the industry being in it. And
That's 2 weeks in a row we got a Paul McCartney story, because
is that right?
Alan Frew from Glass Tiger told us his Paul McCartney story.
Oh, great. Yeah. And he was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to me.
That's cool. Yeah, you can't get much better than that.
Oh, no, so huge. You're in awe, Wow, Sir Paul McCartney. We play Beatles on the ship. Great lad,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 10 seconds. But the other part of it is the ships. It's full time. You're playing 250 days a year. You want to be like when you're 15 years old. I'm a kid on Vancouver Island learning, to play guitars, and I'm in my first band with old guys. They were my school teachers. They were 30 years old. So you're playing in your first band, but that's when you learn to write songs, and it leads to all this career that leads back to this. Now here I am, and this year I'm nominated for a Musician of the Year award with Josie Music Awards.
Wow.
The biggest independent music association in the world now.
Okay.
They do it at the Grand Ole Opry in September. I mean, I've gotten a Josie Music Award before, but it's nice to be nominated again.
Sure.
Right here, right now, after all these thousands of miles and thousands of songs, thousands of reels of tape into that tape, into pure digital, into Pro Tools, song after song after song. This one's the hit. This one's the hit. This one. And here you are now.
Yeah.
So it's great. I'm a very blessed guy.
That's cool. Yeah.
I really am. Yeah, I'm so fortunate. And it's all because of the music. I wouldn't have seen or done any of those things. We'd be talking about cars, I guess, or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but the journey has been totally amazing. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
Great. Very good.
Wouldn't trade it for anything.
Is there anything else you want to?
No, I'm good.
Good. All right.
You guys are good.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you having me on the show. I haven't done a radio interview in a little while, and a live video. This is great.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, Kenny, we appreciate the cool stories, the trip back to all those old days and right up to current. So we appreciate that. Appreciate your time tonight. Thanks very much.
Great. Thanks so much.
Take care, Kenny.
Yes, you guys take good care of yourselves.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Take care.
Night.